Static in the headlines, but we rate the fine print anyway. They're selling you a strong man, like a game show on replay. Gold name on a glass tower, rod on a velvet throne. They chant his name like scripture, we just call it what we've known. This is non-conformist fringe. Cut the span, cut the string, say his name, say the sins, tear the mask off the king, turn it up, let it ring. Non-conformist fringe.
Let's do it.
You was typing in the comments like a courtroom clerk, dropping timestamps, tagging feds, trying to do my work. Screen record warrior, pausing every frame, wishing that a strike might substitute your name. You a tattletale Tyler with a Wi-Fi plan, DM logs in the folder like you built that brand. Whole channel built on exposed and receipts, but you never built a dream, just a list of who you be. Talk tough on your blog, all caps in the title. I realize down, voice off, hand idle. You chase clout for a clip, I chase craft for the win. That's why the crowd scream mine, you just whisper in the wind. Shh. YouTube snitches hit up low, then they hide. When it's face-to-face pressure, they divide. Talk ruthless on the screen, act vicious in the chat, but when they get defeated, they go dialing where they at. Hello, YouTube snitches all bark, then they flop. Catch an L in real life, then they calling up the cops. YouTube snitches, you can't fake what you not. Log off, sign out, for your courage gets blocked. You was flagging every video like it paid you rent. Now your views dropping daily, all that ain't spent. You was taking out the trash, boasting how you clean, but the stain on your soul don't wash in a meme. You react, I act, that's a real big split. You narrate what I did, I just go and do the You staple other people to your channel like a flyer, then you fold under pressure when you stand in the fire. You said pull up, then you backpedal quick, posted proof, got cooked, now you panicked and sick. When the chat turned on you, you went straight to the law. Screenshot statements, they hurt my heart, yo. YouTube snitches hit up low, then they hide. When it's face-to-face pressure, they divide. Talk ruthless on the screen, act vicious in the chat, but when they get defeated, they go dialing where they at. YouTube snitches all bark, then they flop. Catch an L in real life, then they calling up the cops. YouTube snitches, you can't fake what you not. Log off, sign out, for your courage gets blocked. You ain't gang, you a witness. You ain't real, you just business. You ain't tough, you just trending. Till your war needs defending. That's when the camera cut. That's when your heart gave up. All that blue check talk, now you blue lit in a truck. Sirens in your head. YouTube snitches hit up low, then they hide. When it's face-to-face pressure, they divide. Talk ruthless on the screen, act vicious in the chat, but when they get defeated, they go dialing where they at. YouTube snitches all bark, then they flop. Catch an L in real life, then they calling up the cops. YouTube snitches, you can't fake what you not. Log off, sign out, let the real ones rock.
Hey, welcome to the Nonconformist Fringe Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Canarsie. Today, we're going to be talking about two things. Number one, YouTube has become a cult for a lot of people. And rather than sort of subjugate the audience with this one and that one, it's universal. There's a lot of people that have a cult-like mentality. They have cult-like channels. And this entire show is not aimed at the people I think that are doing that. It's aimed at the audience, because you are the only ones that can change this. And I'm going to make things very bright and clear for you today. And yeah, this involves a little bit of drama, but it's important that we talk about it, because if you look at, and I don't even know what genre is what anymore, because you have so many crossovers with so many different people, that I don't know how often this happens in other communities. I really don't. But what I can tell you is this: 90% of the people that have been screaming, rat this, rat that, are the biggest rats you've ever seen now. Call the police, call the feds, call the government, call INS, call whoever. This is what you're reduced to, and it's pathetic. It's pathetic. You have become rats. That's what you are, rats. Say it with me, rats. That's what you are. Rats. And I hope you're proud of yourself. Because just as easily as it is to not engage and not to fight back and to go find something else to do, everybody wants to collect evidence. Everybody wants to call the police. Everybody wants to have everybody arrested. And what's funny is the majority of people that do this won't show their face, won't tell you their real names, and they hide under 50 different accounts. And so today we are going to talk about that because to me, no matter what you want to say about me or Angel or anybody, I've never called the police on anybody on YouTube. I know she hasn't, but yet all of the people that originally came to Angel's show, right, were anti-rat. And what's hilarious to me is all of these anti-rat people have now become the rats, which should tell you something. It should tell you something. And like I said, and like I will always say on this show, if you think that this applies to you, it probably does. We're not going to name who I think it is. It's just an overall thing. And if you take a beef with it, that's up to you. I expect people to beef with me over this because they want attention, and I'm just not giving it. And that's just the way that it's going to go. And so we're going to talk about a lot of that today. We are going to talk about a lot of that today. And we're also going to talk about YouTube becoming a cult because that's what it has become. Because YouTube has become home of a snitch with a ring light. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but if you noticed that YouTube used to be about expression, right? It was about what your thoughts were, your commentary on what's going on. And now it's become about depression and confession. Because somewhere along the line, content creators stopped making content and started making case files. And these people don't hit upload anymore. They hit submit evidence. They don't say, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. They say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Because that's what these clowns are now. Digital district attorneys with a Patreon and a Cash App. They call themselves creators, but what they really are is rats with microphones. And let's be clear. I'm not talking about whistleblowers. There is a big difference between a rat and a whistleblower. Because whistleblowers expose people, they expose power, okay? I'm talking about these mall cop, low-life informants of the algorithm who call the cops, call YouTube, call the advertisers, call the ex-girlfriends, call the neighbor, call the mailman, kick the fucking neighbor's dog, all because someone hurt their fragile little influencer ego. These people don't want justice. Don't be fooled by this. They don't want justice. They want deplatforming, death by paperwork. They don't fight you. They're not going to debate you. They're not going to come to your house. They can't even outthink you. Nope. What they say is, I couldn't beat them in the marketplace of ideas, so I called the manager of reality. And that's not courage. That's cowardice with Wi-Fi. And the best part is they dress it up as morality. They want you to think it's the right thing to do. Oh, no, I'm just protecting the community. No, you're not. You're protecting your revenue stream, you spineless fucks. That's what you do. And these are the same people who say, oh, I don't like the drama, while uploading 6 videos in a week entitled, Why He Must Be Stopped. Shocking. Exposed. The Final Nail. This ends him forever. Forever. Until next Tuesday. These people don't create content. They create dossiers. They weaponize rumors. They monetize insinuation. They turn maybe into a murder weapon. Oh, and if you defend yourself, oh, now you're dangerous. They say, look at how defensive he's getting. Yeah, no shit. If someone's trying to burn your fucking house down, you don't offer them lemonade, you dumb fucks. This is character assassination as content. That's all it's ever been. No proof required. None. Even when the proof is there. Nope, it's not real. Nope, not real. Are you all that delusional at this point? All it is confidence and a good thumbnail. That's it. Red arrows, angry faces, words like disturbing and unhinged. Buddy, if I wanted a mob, I'd go back to the fucking Middle Ages. At least those people had the decency to wear hoods. And here's the real sickness. These rats don't even believe what they're saying. They don't care if it's true. All they care is, are we getting money and is it trending? Truth doesn't matter. Context doesn't matter. What matters is engagement, baby. They'll sell their spine for a spike in views and then lecture you about morals and ethics. That's like a burglar giving a TED Talk on locks. And YouTube loves it because outrage is cheap and morality porn is profitable. Nothing keeps people clicking like a good old-fashioned public execution. So now we've got creators who don't build things, they destroy people. They don't want competition, they want compliance. They want everybody scared, quiet, apologetic, walking on eggshells, wondering if today's the day they get reported. That's not a platform. That's digital police state run by losers with webcams and microphones. And the funniest part about that is they call themselves rebels. Rebels don't call the cops. Rebels don't blame platforms for enforcement, or they don't beg platforms for enforcement. Rebels don't say, "Daddy algorithm, please punish him." That's not rebellion. That's obedience with a beard and a podcast mic. And so here's my advice. If you can't beat somebody with ideas, shut the fuck up. If you can't handle any criticism, log the fuck off and go get a real job. And if your entire career depends on destroying other people's reputations, congratulations, you're not a creator, you're a fucking snitch with branding. That's what you are. And history has a way and has always had a name for people like that. It's not influencer, it's not activist, it's not journalist, because we have a whole bunch of journalists in here too, apparently. You've just become rats. That's what it is. These people tried to win on talent, humor, insight, and originality and lost. So instead of building something better, they decide to burn the other guy's house down. And what are some of those traits? Well, stagnant channel growth means they're not growing at all. Obsessive watching of the people they don't like and their suspected rivals. Talks more about others than their own work. Measures success by who gets punished. And their motto is, if I can rise, if I can't rise, I will drag you down. And they're validation addicts. Those people need applause the way that a junkie needs his fix. Reporting, exposing, calling out others gives them praise, moral superiority, so they think, and a sense of importance. They don't want justice. They want head pats. And they use phrases like accountability, harm, and unsafe nonstop. They frame everything as a moral emergency. And they melt down if they get ignored. And now the motto of that is, look at me, I'm doing the right thing. And they're cowards who really can't fight back. They're terrified of confrontation, debate, or being exposed themselves. And that's not everybody, because there's a lot of people that will come out with who they are. They don't care. They're going to, and I'm not talking about them type of people. I'm talking about the people that are behind the scenes doing this shit. They're into emails. They're into reports. They're into whisper networks. They'll never debate you directly. They'll always escalate shit privately. They love anonymous accusations. Those are their favorites. And they panic when the spotlight turns on them. And their motto is, I don't fight, I report. And this is pure capitalism with no spine. They don't care if the claims are true about what they're saying. They don't care. They only care as long as people watch and donate and get clicks. And ratting is just a content strategy. They use constantly words like exposed. They don't follow up when they're wrong. This is the one thing you have to notice. When they're wrong, they don't ever fucking admit it. Never, never, never. They never apologize for anything that they do, because they're always the victim. And they move on to the next target immediately, because outrage pays better than being honest. And it's just the truth. And they're control freaks. You know, they don't want a platform. They want authority that they've never had in their lives. They hate chaos. They hate dissent. They hate unfiltered speech. They hate people who don't fall in line. And ratting on them gives them the power without competence. And the traits is they love rules, they love enforcement, they love people getting banned, they're obsessed with community standards. They see disagreement as a huge issue, as dangerous to them, and they think speech has to be managed. And their motto is someone who should stop this, and it should be me. And they're projection machines. And this is one of the more dangerous things, because they accuse others exactly of what they're doing, thinking behind the scenes. And what that is a psychological self-defense. They call everybody else manipulative, abusive, and dishonest. Liars, rats. This is what they do. They're extremely thin-skinned. They panic when they get questioned. And they have a history of shady behavior themselves. And they live by the credo of, if I accuse first, nobody's going to look at me. That's why there's always a race to be the first to put shit out. Got to put it out, got to put it out. Because if I'm the first one to say it, it deflects people off of coming at me. And I'm the first one to report the news. These people all peaked early, or they never peaked at all. They feel robbed, ignored, or obsolete. So they try to punish the ecosystem. And they make nostalgic rants about how YouTube used to be, how they hate any new creator that comes onto the scene, because they see success as corruption. They want to clean up what passed them. And their reality, or what they believe, is if I didn't make it, nobody should. And they're really, at the end of the day, pure performance moral cosplayers. They wear ethics like a costume. If they're under pressure, the mask will slip off of them immediately. How many times have we seen two people arguing and immediately it goes right to family 3 seconds in? That should tell you something. That should tell you something. And the common thread is YouTube rats share the same 3 things: low confidence, high resentment, and a belief that they can win fairly, or that a belief that they cannot win fairly. And that goes back to the your mother's a whore and that whole entire thing. Because the minute you do that, you've lost, because that's not what the argument's about. And they will outsource conflict to platforms, authorities, mobs, and policies. And that's not strength, that's institutionalized weakness. And the final truth is that strong creators, people who make content, they build, they compete, they adapt, and they improve. But these other people, the little YouTube rats, they monitor, they report, they manipulate, they lie, and they destroy. And that's the reason why they're always going to lose in the long run. Because you cannot snitch your way to respect. And that's just the truth. And YouTube has become a goddamn cult. It really has. And so what is a clear functional definition of what a cult is? Well, an online cult is a virtual community where a central figure or ideology is treated as unquestionable. Dissent is punished or ridiculed. Members are encouraged to distrust outsiders. Loyalty matters more than the truth, and identity becomes fused with group membership. And the key difference from traditional cults isn't really psychology. It's the delivery method in which it happens. And instead of compounds and robes, you get platforms, live streams, Discord servers, comment sections, and monetization. And so what are the core characteristics of an online cult? And the reason why I'm doing this is I want the audience to actually, for once in their fucking lives, put everything down, stop watching all of these channels for like an hour, and just listen to this over and over until it sinks in. Because you people are a large part of the problem. Because you have to understand something. If you own a boa constrictor and you don't feed the boa, eventually, when you reach into that cage, the boa is going to look at you and eat you. It's just the reality. When they don't eat and you get a little too wiry, they're going to do what they have to do to survive. And the reality is that if you don't feed the snake, if you don't put the snake in a bigger enclosure, the snake will not grow. Same philosophy here, a little different. You people that continue to support anybody who does this just makes them grow. And you, without your help, they're done. They're done. And so you hear it all the time. Oh, we don't like this creator. Just ignore them. Just ignore them. And certainly don't donate to them. because you're just enabling the snake to grow. And I don't understand why nobody seems to understand that philosophy. And so what are the core characteristics of an online cult? Well, there is a central authority, a leader or a narrative, right? Albeit a creator, an influencer, a streamer, or ideology becomes the source of truth. And the leader is always right. They're never wrong. Or they reframe it as, see, I was right, way down the line after they've gotten everything wrong. And criticism in these certain groups is treated as an attack, not a disagreement. And that's a large issue, is with a lot of people, you cannot disagree. Because the minute that you criticize them, oh, your mother's a whore. Your dead kids are ugly. This is what they do. Or they'll say things like, oh, they're just jealous of me. Oh, they're compromised. Or just they don't want me to know the truth. And members in these groups are told, don't watch anybody else. Especially don't watch anybody that criticizes me. Don't listen or indulge yourself into opposing views. Don't trust anybody from any other chat. How many times have you guys seen this? And contradictory evidence is labeled as fake, out of context, or a hit piece. So if you offer something that contradicts everything that they've said, they say it's a lie. They say it's not real. And this creates an information bubble, not a debate. I came out and I was the only one that said that Tony Soflo was not arrested, never been arrested for what all of these people allege. I was the only one. I came out before everybody and I told you it wasn't true. I gave you the legal reasons why it wasn't true. And the other thing is, I knew it wasn't true because I talked to him before anybody else did. So I knew it wasn't accurate. But yet, you show the fucking information and everybody calls you a liar and says you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Because people are so hemmed up on wanting to see somebody get deported that the truth doesn't even break through the wall with them. And it really becomes an us versus them mentality because the world is divided into people who believe, good, awake, and moral people. And then there's outsiders, and those outsiders are evil, stupid, and corrupt. And if you leave that group, you become an enemy immediately. And that makes departure emotionally expensive. How many times have we seen somebody who speaks out, me, or anybody, I could name 50 people who speak out against something they don't believe in, and immediately everyone turns on them. They know, at least some of them know, you're, believe it or not, having a moral stance, and they agree with you privately. Publicly, they can't. And I understand that. Because the minute that you agree with somebody publicly, here comes the backlash. But this is exactly why you don't allow your channel to become something like that. And there's a million of them. There's a million of them. And if you question them, it leads to dogpiling. Everybody in the chat will dogpile on top of you. Then they start to harass you. Then they ban you, take your wrench and all of that. Then they start their little smear campaigns. And anybody that's no longer a member are reframed as traitors, liars, and never real supporters. They're supporters while they're donating money, but now that they don't, oh, you're a piece of shit. Because fear always keeps people quiet. And if you listen close and you watch close, go to any other channel, go to any sort of genre on YouTube and just do this and you'll see it. The minute that the members in the chat stop saying, I think, and they start saying, we know, it just becomes a cult because criticism of the group is looked at as criticism of the creator, which triggers emotional, not rational responses whatsoever. And they use emotional manipulation better than anybody else. Because online cults commonly use fear, they use rage, and they use victimhood, and they used moral superiority. They're always morally more superior than anyone else, even when they're talking about deceased family members. Because emotion replaces analysis. And monetization or status incentives is at the peak. Unlike traditional cults, online cults often sell merch, solicit donations, offer clout, access, or recognition, reward loyalty with attention, and the beliefs become profitable. So what isn't an online cult? Well, it's not just fandom. It's not just a disagreement. It's not just strong opinions. The defining difference is control. Control over information, control over behavior, control over identity, control over whether of who you're allowed to trust. Only trust me because I'm the only one. This is what you hear all the time. So what are some warning signs? These, when I read these, you're going to go, yep. It's going to hit you like a fucking freight train. Number one, the leader is never wrong. Mistakes are reframed. They're blamed on their enemies. They're ignored. They're taken out of context. Apologies are never there, or they're very theatrical. And accountability only flows downward. And here's the red flag test. If a leader is always right and the critics are always malicious, you're not in a community. You're in a hierarchy. Number two, they'll tell you don't watch them. Members are always discouraged from watching critics, reading opposing views, engaging outside perspectives, because outside information is labeled as propaganda, hit pieces, bad faith, lies, and slander. And the translation is, if your beliefs can't survive exposure, they're not beliefs, they're protected myths. And God forbid you go into anybody's chat room. They use us versus them language. They constantly frame it of we. We equals good, smart, and moral. They equals evil, stupid, and corrupt. And outsiders are dehumanized or mocked. And then all of a sudden the nuance disappears. And the red flag test here is if a disagreement is treated as a betrayal and you're not allowed to think, only to comply. So it's either get on board or get the fuck out. They use emotional over rational appeals. Their content heavily relies on rage, fear, humiliation, moral outrage, and calm analysis as ridiculed as weak. And facts matter less than how angry you feel. And a key insight to that is emotion is used to short-circuit thinking. Dissent is punished, not discussed. Questioning leads to dogpiling, bans, smear campaigns, harassment, and former supporters become traitors, grifters, and always suspicious. And the red flag test there is, if leaving peacefully is not allowed, freedom was never real to begin with. They use identity fusion. Members stop saying, I think, and start saying, we know. Criticism of the group feels personal. Defending the group feels like self-defense. And it's crucial because once your identity is fused, facts become threats. They're in constant crisis mode. Everything is urgent. This changes everything. They're trying to silence us. The final battle. There's no resolution, only escalation. And it matters because permanent crisis keeps people dependent, loyal, and emotionally hijacked. And one of my favorites is the loyalty. There's no such thing as loyalty in these people's chats or these people's channels. Praise, attention, and access goes to the loudest defenders, the most aggressive members, and questioners are ignored or sidelined. And the outcome is behavior gets shaped towards extremity, not truth. Former members become villains, and people who leave retroactively are labeled as liars, bad actors, never real supporters. And their previous contributions to them are totally like they're erased, like they were never there. And that is classic cult behavior. Rewrite history to discourage people from leaving. And monetization or status is tied to that belief. Donations, merch, memberships, or clout, financial or social incentives for loyalty, support the cause type of rhetoric. Earning money isn't the problem, but making their beliefs profitable is. And the critics are motive. They're attacked, not refuted. And instead of addressing arguments, what they're going to say to you is they're jealous, they're paid, they're obsessed. Evidence is ignored in favor of character assassinations. And if motives matter more than facts, then the truth is just not even relevant. It's irrelevant in that case. And for a lot of people, they don't want to be in these chats. I've heard it from hundreds of people. I don't want to go in there, but if I leave, they're just going to attack me. And that's what they do. because people are afraid of losing friends, being targeted, being mocked, being isolated, having the cops called on them, having child services show up at the door, because that's what you people do. And that is really the final confirmation sign that you guys are ever going to need. If walking away from a chat that's toxic cost you your social world, then it wasn't ever a community to begin with. And if loyalty is valued more than accuracy, emotion more than evidence, and silence more than questioning, you're already in an online cult. Just face it. And YouTube doesn't have fans anymore. It has believers, not subscribers, disciples, not creators, self-entitled or self-centric prophets, not comment sections, revival tents full of screaming idiots speaking in emojis. That's what this has become. This isn't entertainment. This is church. And the algorithm is God. Because an invisible, unaccountable force that rewards obedience and punishes thought, it's like every cult in human history, and the rules are very simple. Never question the leader. Never read outside material. Anybody who leaves is evil. Anyone who disagrees is jealous, or they've been paid to go against me, or they're just a hater. And reality is always optional. You can show them receipts, screenshots, court documents, video clips, a notarized affidavit signed in blood by Jesus Christ himself if you want. And you know what they're going to say? Yeah, but that's your interpretation of the documents. No, motherfucker, that's reality. That's not an opinion. That's a thing that actually happened. But cult brains do not process facts. They process loyalty, and that's the difference. Because the truth doesn't bounce, it shatters. You present evidence to a rational person, they go, huh, I was wrong. You present evidence to one of these fucking people, and their brain does a goddamn Windows 95 error sound and freezes. Because admitting the truth would mean admitting that they backed the wrong horse, that they defended a liar, that they spent years in comment sections arguing with strangers for no fucking reason. And their ego would rather eat glass than say, my bad. So instead, what they do is they double down. They don't say I was fooled. No. They say everyone else is lying. This is what they do. And that is cult logic. That's how you end up drinking Kool-Aid in the jungle. Except now it's Monster Energy and Adderall. And the fucking jungle is a Discord server moderated by a guy named Truthhammer88. And who joins groups like this? Who joins these type of cliques? Oh, I've met many of them online. So let's talk about the recruitment pool, shall we? They are the chronically unimportant. These are people whose greatest accomplishment is being noticed by someone with a blue check. They don't have an identity, they have proximity. They don't say, I think. They say, well, he says. Because thinking is work and worship is easy. And the failed main characters, these are the people who were supposed to be something. A rock star, a comic, an influencer, a revolutionary. Instead, they're in the basement at 2 a.m. fighting strangers about a guy who doesn't even know that they exist. David Monpaz ring any fucking bells to you people? So they match their ego to someone louder, dumber, and more confident. And if the leader wins, they win by association. And if the leader's exposed, they defend him like their rent fucking depends on it. And emotionally, it does. These are trauma collectors. And like I said, this is not a diagnosis, but it's a pattern recognition with sarcasm a little bit here. Because some people don't want healing. They want identity through damage. You don't want to be known as somebody who helps others, does the right thing. Oh, no. You want to be known as the motherfucker that buried somebody in his entire family to make yourself feel better that you're a low life. Every disagreement is abuse. Every criticism is violence. And every consequence is oppression. And so when a YouTube cult leader tells them, everybody's attacking us, they feel seen. Because paranoia feels like a purpose. And you're powerless. You're powerless with a keyboard. People who never control a goddamn thing in their lives suddenly get a mob. And mobs can be intoxicating. They can cancel, they can swarm, they can threaten, they can ratio. And for once, they're not invisible. They're dangerous, and they love it. And what you often see is obsessive thinking. Everything revolves around them. They're the number one. That's it. They have black and white morality. Leader good, outsiders evil. They have persecution fantasies. Everybody's out to get us. Everybody's out to get us. They always think everybody's scheming. That's paranoid. They're paranoid people. They're huge fans of emotional dysregulation, screaming, crying, rage posting. They do this. An identity fusion. Attack the leader, you're attacking me. Call it insecurity, call it ego fragility, call it arrested development. But don't call it truth-seeking, because that's not what it is. And the leader is always full of shit. Always. And this is the fun part. Every cult leader says the same shit. They're scared of me. They're trying to silence us. Only I tell the real truth. And anybody who doesn't come around here was never loyal to begin with. That's not bravery. That's like selling a used fucking car while you're high on angel dust. Because once the audience realizes that you're lying, you're done. You're done. And so the cult has to keep you angry. It has to keep you afraid. It has to keep you busy. It has to keep you yelling, because calm people ask real questions. And most of these YouTube cults don't end in enlightenment. They end in deleted channels, leaked DMs, leaked text messages, court filings, restraining orders, harassment orders, public meltdowns, lies, slanders, defamation, and the same followers saying, I always had doubts. Bullshit. You didn't doubt, you cheered it on. And when the smoke clears and the leader disappears and reinvents himself or herself, and then they start the same fucking scam with a new logo and a fresh batch of idiots. Because there's no shortage of people who want certainty more than the truth. So, if someone tells you don't listen to critics, don't read opposing views, don't question the motives of other people, don't think independently, that's not a creator. That's not even a friend. That's a cult leader with a ring light. And if you feel personally attacked when someone criticizes a YouTuber you don't know, congratulations. You're not a fan. You're in the congregation. You're an idiot. Now pass the collection plate, hit the like button, and remember, reality doesn't care how loud you clap. And here's a sermon for people who need to mind their own goddamn business. YouTube is not a website anymore. They're a peep show, a courthouse, a mental ward, and a middle school hallway duct taped together and monetized. There used to be fans. Now you have watchers. Not people who enjoy content, but people who monitor human beings like they're zoo animals with Wi-Fi. These people don't watch videos. They study lives. They know who unfollowed who liked what comment, who deleted what tweet at 3:17 a.m., who coughed funny on a live stream last Tuesday. They don't miss a goddamn thing except their own fucking lives, because they don't fucking have one. It's obsession with a subscription button. They're not critics, because critics talk about ideas. These people talk about somebody's divorce, somebody's relapse, somebody's bank account, somebody's deceased kids, somebody's medical rumors, someone's body language, how they look, like it's a fucking murder trial. They say, I'm just asking questions. No, asshole. You're licking the window of somebody else's fucking life for your own enjoyment. You've got spreadsheets, you've got timelines, you've got photos, you got flowcharts, you have evidence boards like you're trying to solve the fucking Zodiac murders, except for the crime is a guy made a video you didn't like. That's not journalism. That's creepy behavior with ad revenue. That's what stalkers fucking do. And the worst part is they try to reframe it as the moral thing to do. And that's the genius of it. They stalk people while pretending that they're persecuting the public, or while they're, not persecuting, protecting the public. They say accountability, awareness, exposing the truth, holding them responsible. Meanwhile, they're refreshing a page every 6 seconds like a lab rat high on meth. You don't care about justice. You care about permission. Permission to obsess, permission to slander, permission to lie, permission to harass, permission to stalk, permission to invade somebody's life without admitting you're lonely as hell and don't have one yourself. And it's gone full serial killer weird at this point. Because let's be honest, the shit has crossed the line from odd into call your therapist territory very quickly. People zooming in on reflection in sunglasses, background noises in videos, micro expressions, whether somebody blinked too fast when asked a question. Did they sniff 2 or 3 times? Are they high on cocaine? This is what you people do. You've got grown adults saying things like, notice how he scratched his nose when he said that. He must have just done a line of coke. Yeah, because people have fucking noses, you fucking psycho, and you get an itch. And this is the internet equivalent of sitting in a parked car across the street with binoculars saying, oh, I'm just observing. No, you're stalking digitally, legally, and proudly. That's what the majority of you fucking do. And so here's a weird question. Why do these fucking people even exist? Well, because obsession is easier than self-reflection. It's easier to track somebody else's downfall than build up your own goddamn life and do something with it. It's easier to feel superior than to improve. It's easier to cancel than to create or mitigate a dispute. It's easier to judge than to try to understand. It's easier to hate than to be real. And YouTube rewards this sickness every day. Drama pays. Breakdowns pay. Rumors pay. Destruction pays. Peace, boring. Growth doesn't trend. And so how do you combat it? Well, you can't combat it with censorship. You cannot combat it with counter-stalking. We've seen this. You can't combat it with screaming. You combat it with boundaries, ridicule, and refusal to engage. Stop feeding the freaks. Obsession dies when it gets ignored. No response, no reaction, no subtweet, no clearing shit up, no talking it out. Starve them. You don't argue with somebody screaming at pigeons in the park, do you? Don't you just walk the fuck away? Do the same thing here and call it what it is. Don't say drama channel. Say this person is fixated on strangers they don't even know. They say research. Look at them and say, this guy tracks adults like a parole officer with no fucking badge. And language matters. And you know what ruins obsession? A real life. A job, a hobby, a girlfriend, a relationship, a walk, a purpose. Hard to stalk somebody when you're busy literally doing anything else. And you have to shame the behavior, not the person. You don't say, you're evil. You say, this is weird. This is unhealthy. This is not normal human behavior. Because it isn't. And here's the final truth that nobody wants to hear. If you spend hours and hours every day watching somebody you hate, then you don't hate them. You're attached. You know more about a stranger's life than your own family's. You're not even informed. You're unwell. And if your entire identity is built around somebody else's existence and what they fucking do, then congratulations. You've officially become a side character and a story that you don't even fucking control. George Carlin once said, people are full of shit. And he didn't know the half of it. Now they're full of shit, monetized, algorithm boosted, and screaming into ring lights while pretending obsession is a virtue. It isn't. It's creepy. It's sad. It's corrosive. And the cure is simple. Mind your own goddamn business and build a life worth watching. Now close the app. And that's how you do it. And everything is about the profitable lies. How YouTube creators know they're lying and why they do it anyway. They all know they're lying. Not everybody. I'm not saying 100 out of 100. But the reason why honesty loses and gang mentality wins and the algorithm sewer that's become YouTube is very easy. It's a fairy tale. Most of the worst YouTube content creators are not mistaken. They're not confused. They're not even ignorant. They're lying on purpose. And they know exactly why. This isn't about truth. It's about power, belonging, and weaponized certainty. Because truth is fragile. Truth requires humility. Truth requires saying, I don't know. And I don't know does not monetize worth a fuck. It just doesn't. And the modern YouTube lie is not an error. It's a strategy. An honest creator speaking carefully, saying, here's what I can verify, here's what I count, what I can't, sounds weak in an ecosystem that is built on dominance, drama, and bullshit. But a liar, the liar sounds confident. A liar says, this is definitely what happened. I have inside information. Does anybody who disagrees is compromised? They don't want you to know this. They don't want to admit to it. Certainty beats accuracy every single time. The algorithm doesn't reward truth, it rewards conviction. And nothing sounds more convincing than a motherfucker who never hesitates, even when he's completely full of shit. And the lie works better than honesty because honesty is solitary. Lies are communal. Truth says, here are the facts, do whatever you want with them. A lie says, we are under attack. And that is the magic spell. Because now it's not about whether something is true. It's about loyalty. You're not agreeing with an argument. You're joining a side. And once a lie becomes, tribal, correcting it feels like betrayal. And it's become gang mentality. Gang mentality is now monetized. It's the same psychological wiring that fuels street gangs, cults, and extremist movements now fuels channels with donations. And the rules are identical. Absolute loyalty to the leader, total distrust of outsiders, retaliation against anybody who steps sideways, rewriting history whenever it's fucking convenient for them, and excommunication for defectors. Because the truth is irrelevant to these people. What matters is cohesion. Because a gang that doubts itself dissolves, and a gang that lies together stays together. This is why these people are not going away. And here's the brutal reality. When a creator lies blatantly and obviously and provably and stupidly, they're not just spreading misinformation. They're testing you people, the bozos in the audience under the circus tent. They're asking, will you defend me even when I'm wrong? And if the audience does, congratulations, the creator now owns your ass. Because once you've defended a lie publicly, you are invested in keeping it alive. That is why when information comes out that someone diddled a child and everybody says it's true, but yet you have this one side of the fence that doesn't agree with one side of the fence, so they're going to continue to capitulate and still saying it's not true. Yet if I had anything like that on my record, you guys would have killed me 3 days ago. 3 seconds after it came out. Oh, burn them to the ground. But you're more interested in keeping the lie alive. Because admitting the truth would mean admitting that you were fooled. It would mean that you argued in bad faith. It would mean that you attacked people for no fucking reason. And you wasted time, emotion, and dignity. Because let's face it, ego would rather eat broken glass than admit to any fault. And you can't be too humble because humility will get you fucking destroyed. A humble creator will say to you, I was wrong. And the internet smells blood. Because humility does not signal strength in a gang ecosystem, it signals weakness. The crowd doesn't say, how refreshing. They say, get him, get him, get him. Meanwhile, the liar never apologizes. Never retracts, never clarifies. They just move on, reframe, gaslight, count the clicks, and move on to some other target. This is what they do. And the audience follows because, let's just be honest, you're stupid. You're just stupid. You'll back anything. You would rather be followers than leaders because if you were leaders, you would be doing your own thing. Not every fight has to be yours. And you should never feel like you can't speak out against something you don't agree with. The minute that you do that, you're controlled. because the audience is complicit in all of this. So let's stop pretending it's otherwise. The creators didn't invent the demand. They supply it. People don't want complexity. They want villains. They want heroes. They want certainty. They want to feel smarter than others without doing any actual fucking thinking for themselves. So they reward the liar who says, I'll tell you who to hate, because hate is energizing. The truth is exhausting. And there's incentives, economic incentives to all of this. Because when they lie, they're driving their engagement, they're provoking outrage, they're creating repeat viewers. They build a us versus them sort of mantra. They generate donations. They encourage donations to fight back against injustice. But what about the truth? The truth says, this isn't that dramatic. And when they say that, the drama-free content dies. So creators just don't lie because they want to. They lie because honesty starves. They don't make money being truthful. And this is why fact-checking doesn't work, because they try this all the time. You can debunk a claim, but what you cannot do is you cannot debunk a group identity. Once belief becomes social, facts become irrelevant. You're not arguing with a mind, you're arguing with a fucking membership card. And the lie persists, not because it's convincing, but because abandoning that would mean losing the group. Everything's about the bottom line. And the final con, the greatest trick these creators ever pulled, was convincing their audience that skepticism is betrayal, doubt is weakness, questions are personal attacks, and facts are narratives. That's not content creation. That's psychological racketeering. That's what that is. So here it is, naked and ugly. Many YouTube creators lie because lying works. It's paid dividends. They lie because gangs or a gang mentality beats an individual. They lie because certainty beats accuracy. They lie because audience reward aggression, not integrity. And they lie because humility does not trend. And they lie because once you build a mob, the truth becomes optional to them. And the worst part about it is they don't fear being exposed. Everybody thinks how you get even with these people is by exposing them. They don't give a fuck if you expose them. What they're truly afraid of is being ignored. Because attention, albeit positive or negative, is the currency. The truth is not dangerous to them. Silence is what kills them. And that's the real indictment. Not that they lie, but that they know they're fucking lying. They know why they're lying. And they know that you're going to defend their lies all the fucking time. That's not ignorance. That's a business model, whether you realize it or not. And so a lot of people also have become keyboard Gestapo members. And a love letter to online bullies who confuse harassment with purpose. You ever notice how the internet just didn't give everyone a voice? It gave the worst people a fucking megaphone, a search bar, and a moral excuse to do whatever they're doing. We used to have bullies who shoved you into lockers at school. Remember them days? Now we got bullies who shove you into Google Docs. These people will never throw a punch. They throw screenshots. They throw texts. They don't confront you. They compile you. They don't argue ideas. They dig through your past like raccoons in trash, looking for a banana peel they can call exposure. And the doxxers are the FBI of the unemployed. That's what you all are. Let's start with the doxxers. Nothing screams I'm doing great in life like spending 8 hours tracking down somebody's address over a fucking podcast disagreement. These are people who say, I just want accountability. Buddy, if accountability was your goal, you wouldn't need IP logs, burner emails, and a corkboard with a fucking red string. Doxing is not justice. It's revenge cosplay. And people who desperately want power but couldn't manage a fucking lemonade stand without a meltdown, that's what they do. They don't want the truth. They want leverage. Because when you have nothing impressive about yourself, the next best thing is terrifying somebody else. And then you've got the grave robbers. You got the diggers, These people love to dig old tweets, old photos, old relationships, old mistakes. They dig so far back, they're practically trying to uncover your umbilical cord. They say people should be held accountable for their past. Funny how that only applies to other people's posts or pasts, And notice how their own history is always deleted, private, locked, taken out of context, or mysteriously gone like a hard drive after a subpoena. That's not accountability. That's selective archaeology. They don't want to learn. They want to win. And what about you people, the show-hopping parasites? Because that's what you are. You are the show-hopping parasites. You people don't have a platform. You have a parasitic strategy. You bounce from show to show like a fucking virus saying, I don't want drama, but here I am. And any sentence that starts with, I don't want drama, is immediately followed by a fucking flamethrower. They show up just to talk. And somehow every conversation turns into character assassination, implication, rumor, lies, slander, or the patented, I heard from a guy who knows a guy. They don't build anything. They infect everything. They're the human equivalent of clicking reply all with nothing useful to say whatsoever. And so why do they do it? Well, let's be honest. Is it low self-esteem? Oh yeah, big time. But not the sad kind, the weaponized kind. This is insecurity that learned how to punch sideways. These people can't create, so they destroy. They can't be admired, so they try to be feared. They can't be interesting, so they become loud. They feel small, so they make everything personal. And here's the uncomfortable part. A lot of them, they're hiding something. People obsessed with exposing others are usually terrified of being exposed themselves, and for a real big reason. That's why they become frantic immediately. You ever watched a show? I'll give you an example, but non-specific. Have you ever been watching a show where two people don't like each other, and within 3 seconds of somebody, confronting somebody, they start screaming immediately, trying to talk over everybody else, and then they start going right to the family or right to what they got on people? That should tell you something. That's universal. This is why they escalate. This is why they overreact. Projection is not psychology. It's a goddamn hobby. And it's bullying dressed up as a virtue. And here's the real scam. They wrap cruelty in morality. They don't say, I hate this person. No. They say, I'm protecting our community. They don't say, I'm obsessed. They say, people need to know. They don't say, I want attention. They say, silence is violence. Bullshit. You're not a watchdog. You're a bark machine with Wi-Fi. That's all you people are. And the internet has effectively given a whole bunch of losers a job title. Before the internet, these people were just assholes at the end of a bar. Now they're researchers, truth seekers, independent journalists, advocates. No credentials, no standards, no accountability, just vibes, grudges, and PayPal links. And the scariest part, they think they're the good guys. Every bully always thinks they're a good guy. And so how do you deal with it? You don't beg them. You don't debate them. You don't appease them. You expose their behavior, not the person. That's where everybody fucks up. You want to talk about them personally. No. Talk about the behavior. Call it what it is. Creepy, unhealthy, obsessive, unhinged, pathetic. Because sunlight just does not disinfect, it embarrasses. Bullies thrive on fear. They wither under laughter. So, in final, if you dig through strangers' lives for sport, if you try to ruin people by proxy, by doxing, if you travel show to show spreading rumors about other people, if you think harassment is holding people accountable and harassing people's families and making fun of dead family members, if you think, or calling somebody's ex-wife or their third wife or their fifth wife or their former father-in-law, their former sister-in-law, if you think that that's fucking acceptable, you're not brave. You're not righteous, and you're not even important. You're a bored, angry troll person with an internet connection and no sense of proportion. And the saddest part is when the screens turn off, when the chat scroll stops, when nobody's watching, you're still just a loser. No power, no crowd, no purpose. Just another asshole yelling into the void. praying that somebody else's life falls apart so you don't have to look at your own fucking miserable lives. Now log the fuck off and stop this shit. Just stop already. And I don't care if people don't like what I have to say. I really don't. I think anybody, and I've had a million fights with people, never have I ever gotten into a verbal spar with anybody and talked about their deceased mother. I've never done that. To me, I don't understand why anybody does that. I understand if you've been kicked a million ways from Sunday and you finally have enough. Okay, they've been doing it to you for 2 years. You finally responded. Okay, you don't have to do that, but I understand the mechanism behind it. But what's amazing to me is all of these people that have the biggest opinions on every other content creator they don't agree with, look at who they've become. Everything they spoke out against for the last 4 years, suddenly they don't believe it anymore. Oh, he talked to John A. like he's a rat. Really? Okay. So having a conversation with any individual makes you a rat. Okay, I understand that. Right. But it's funny to me because you people all worship John A. Light. At one point or another, you all worshipped him. And I noticed that a lot of you say, oh, he knows John A. Light. Man, he knows some real people. But I knew him and I became a bum. So it's very selective in how you want to use that with people. It's very selective how you want to use a negative attribute towards somebody you don't like. However, here's a little fucking bit of knowledge I'm going to drop right on your fucking lap. You motherfuckers that keep bringing up this A-Light shit that was, 10 years ago or whatever the case now? Guess what? One and done, baby. But yet every single one of you brought on rapists. You brought on women beaters. You brought on sexual assaulters. You put on a diggler. Some of you still do. You've had every fucking rat, piece of shit, lowlife fuck on your show. Did I? Nope. So you can say whatever the fuck it is you want about me. But here's the truth. I could have had on every single mafia informant in history on my show. Because you know what? Guess what? Many of them actually email me and still ask to come on my show, even though I'm not doing anything. And do I respond to their emails? No. I look at it, I screenshot it, and I laugh, and I keep it moving. This is what none of you seems to understand. I could have had on every informant before you. Because they didn't come running to you, they came running to me first, and I didn't respond. And I made a choice not to do that. But you're not going to hear anybody say that. Instead, half of you do that. Well, majority of you do this. You put on rats on your fucking show. You put rats on, and you've become the rats, which is even funnier to me. Because you guys always say, well, anybody who speaks out against rats is probably a rat themselves. Well, I can understand why you would say that, because you can call that projection. But I can turn that right around and say, but look at what you've all become. Call the FBI, get them deported, file this lawsuit, file this restraining order. How the fuck are you going to file a restraining order against somebody you're never going to fucking see? Seriously. And the majority, and this is not an 100%, so I don't want anybody to take liberty with what I'm about to say. But the reality is most of you instigate the shit with these people to begin with. Then the minute that they fire back at you, oh my God, and you want to call the police because you're fucking cowards. Because guess what? The reality of somebody actually coming to your house is probably 1 in 100, 1 in 200, maybe. But guess what? The problem is, and this goes to me, I learned this a long time ago doing what I do. Eventually you're going to anger somebody and they're going to confront you. It's happened to me before. Never ended up in a fight or nothing else. We have a couple words. It's over with. We talk. It's done. But yet you people want to pick up a Rolodex and call everybody's family members as if a family is just going to tell you the absolute truth, especially if they're coming from a fucking place where there's some drama in the family. And to me, anybody that does that is a piece of shit. There may be a lot of people I don't like, but I'm not picking up the phone to talk to their family. Anybody that does that, I want you guys to just think about this for a second. if you don't like somebody, and let's use Angel Gotti as a reference point, just because I think a lot of people know who she is. If me and Angel have gotten into it a million different times, the one thing that Angel and I never do is say anything we cannot take back. That's number one. Number two, it never dawned on me, if Angel's been upset with me or I was upset with her, to call her brother or to text a lawyer that could be a middleman. It never dawned on me to do that. Because number one, the fight isn't that ferocious. And number two, I would rather say fuck you to Angel than to go third party. Tell her I said fuck off. But yet some of you, your immediate response is, let's call his whole family. That's stalker behavior. That's mentally disturbed. And anybody that does that needs psychotic help. Because here's the reality. When a business is successful, it's successful on your merits and what you provide your customers or your audience, whatever the case may be. Some lunatic from Oklahoma who just lies and says stupid shit isn't going to destroy your business. But yet time and time again, I watch people overreact to this. They overreact to it, and they, instead of fighting it on their own, they want to get everybody's like taking away children, and it goes to a level that's just mentally ill. And the problem that I have with it on all sides of the fence is that I'm the only one that calls it out. Not a single fucking one of you, to my knowledge, some of you have expressed it to me privately, have the fucking balls, say it publicly. There is nothing to fear by stating how you feel about something. And if that gets you attacked and your whole family attacked, what does that tell you about them? What does that tell you about that person? If you have to go from 0 to 100 and talk about digging up somebody's dead relative and showing it online just to prove a point that you don't like somebody, you are mentally fucking unhinged. And even some of the people that you people love to hate the most, that I particularly don't even like, haven't gone that far. There's a limit to some of the shit that goes on. But there's a few people around now that this is what they do. This is what they do. And I'm going to give you a bit of a warning because this is the truth. You people that do this one day are going to dox the wrong person. You're going to call the wrong person's wife, the wrong person's child, the wrong person's former employer, Child Protective Services. You are going to do that, and they're going to come to your house and kill you. That is what's going to happen. And you're going to deserve it. And you're going to deserve it because you're stupid and you have no integrity and no morals. If you have to prove your integrity by digging up dirt on everyone, then you have no integrity. You have no integrity. So stop snitching, get a set of balls, confront the person you have an issue with, have it out, and walk away. That's what adults do. That's what adults do. But not many of you. You don't choose to do that. No, let's dig up all the shit we can. Let's call his third cousin Methuselah in Greece and find out why he really left Greece. I think he's a diggler, and that's why he left. And that's what you people do. Even when it's proven that what you're saying is a lie, you triple down, you double down, you quadruple down. You're fucking cowards. Because Jeff Canarsie says so.